Alrighty. Well, this is the first episode of the podcast for my civics project. It's all about the zero bail policy. So the zero bail policy is a policy that went into effect during COVID, pretty much all around California and whatnot. Specifically happened where um, Riverside is in during COVID specifically, but it's recently made a resurgence in LA County. Um, and lots of people are angry about it. And it kind of, got me into it because I started hearing about it on the news, and I've had some stuff happen within, my own life where I've seen things happen very close to me. Where I was like, oh, let's look into this. And that's what pretty much got me into this project was all the different things that I was reading and seeing, just to kind of spread awareness of it. So that's the whole point of my project now is just spreading awareness. Let me make sure this thing is focused really quick. There we go. That should be a little bit better. Um, but yeah, so the whole reason that I got into that was because of a bunch of different situations. But one thing I was reading on the news, and two was one of the consequences of the zero bail policy was actually right by where I live, and we'll go over that in a little bit. And I'm sure I'll reference it throughout this project a lot. So, let's see. The first thing that we can go over is let's see. Why don't we actually just look over what initially got me into doing this as my zero bail policy, or doing this as my civics project. So we'll go ahead and cut over to that now, if it works. There we go. So like I was saying, this is what originally got me into the zero bail policy as my civics project, is because there was something that had happened where a elderly woman was stabbed to death right by where I live. And where I live isn't necessarily a place where a lot of violence happens, I would like to say. But so it was more out of the blue than what you would normally, expect to happen around this kind of area. So then I kind of looked into it and whatnot. And then I saw that it was this person right here, Darlene Montoya. And Darlene was recently arrested by the Riverside Police Department, but this was during COVID, right when the policy was put into effect. So she was cited and released. And we'll read about that in their press statement. I'll move my camera around for now just a little bit so you can see that she was. Well, actually, let's read her now. It says the suspect was arrested by Riverside police officers earlier this week, Tuesday, March 30th, after she attacked a woman with a skateboard on Tyler Avenue. Tyler Avenue is just like a couple miles down the road from where this crime that we're talking about now happened. So she attacked somebody with a skateboard, and she still got released without bail a few hours later. You can see right down here it says she was released on a notice to appear citation. And this was, like I said, earlier this week. So not even a week went by, and she decided, hey, I'm just going to go kill somebody unprovoked, which is exactly what happened to this woman right here. She was walking her dog, and she went and she got stabbed. It was unprovoked. It wasn't like there was an altercation between them. It just happened. There's security camera footage of it. I'm not going to show that security camera footage, but it happened. Things like this happened. So one thing that stood out to me is, whoa, why did this happen? Why are we allowing this to happen? How did somebody that had already beat somebody up with a skateboard, said that she assaulted somebody with a skateboard, how are they just going to be allowed to roam around and just be released immediately? They need to be, tried for their crimes. So I started digging in a little bit more, and I found out that some of the people who were cited and released from the zero bail policy that said the court date, because you see it says she had the order to appear in court, and I'm sure that she's already had her court date because it was more of a severe crime. This is, and I will admit, this is kind of like worst of the worst. This is like the worst situation, but it is a very good situation to put out there. But anyways, the the people who have been in this kind of situation as well, where they commit a crime but they get released and they have that notice to appear, they still haven't gotten their court dates. Some of these people still have not gotten their court dates, which is crazy to me. This stuff happened 3, 4, 5 years ago, because it was 2019 and 2020 where these, or no, 2020 was when it was in effect. So I would say it's been 3 to 4 years since these people have committed their crimes and still have not gotten tried for it. So they're still just out there. Now, I am not by any means saying that all these people are bad people. That's not at all what I'm saying, you know? But I'm saying that there are better ways to go about this. Now, that isn't up to me, a 17-year-old senior in high school to figure out. But this is the way that I feel I can make an impact, is by putting stuff out there like this, making sure that people are aware of what's going on, so people in authority understand that the people want something to change and they're able to do something about it. Now what we can go over is I did a survey, and I have not like completely had all my responses, because I want about like 50 responses. But I have a few responses. We'll go over some of those responses right now. So we'll kind of walk through the questions right now. I'll move my camera back to where it was. There we go. Have you ever heard about the zero bail policy? Do you know what the zero bail policy is about? So obviously you haven't heard about it, you don't know what it's about. And it's just all these different types of questions that we'll go through. And I know already some of these responses have surprised me in some way, shape, or form. So we'll actually put this, oops, wrong button. Put this on full screen so we can see it a little bit better. But 55% of people have never heard of the zero bail policy. And this is a very, very, very large thing that's going on. So large that when it was reinstated by by LA County, 14, I think about 14, I could be wrong on my number, but it's around that number. 14 cities are suing LA County as we speak about this policy, because they know the negative side effects about it. They know what has happened. So, I mean, it's a pretty big deal, and not a lot of people know about it. I was genuinely expecting more than 55% of people to have heard about it. Do you know what the policy is about? No, that's a lot more people have heard about it, but they obviously don't know, so that makes sense. This one is interesting because I put like an other section where you can like put your own kind of idea. So, do you think that someone that commits crime should be released without bail from jail? And this was kind of like a trickier question to understand, because it's like, well, what's the severity of the crime? And we go back into that in the survey deeper. But it says that I think it depends on the crime. It varies at the crime. If the crime is a misdemeanor or small felony, then yes. And then sometimes. So majority say no. You should not be released from jail without bail. That is very, very, very large factor, because that is what exactly the zero bail policy is doing. They are releasing people from jail without bail, which is kind of weird. Now, this is something that obviously some of these people don't even know what this is about, but they're just using context clues and saying, do you think that people that are released from this policy will go out and commit more crimes or reoffend? And 88% of the people that have taken this survey so far say yes. They believe that these people that get released without bail, because they see that, hey, there's no consequences to my actions, so I can go out and commit more crimes. Lots of I was looking up and researching what was some of the most crimes that were like recommitted and stuff like that, and it was shoplifting was a very, very, very large one, and like other petty crimes, but shoplifting was one of the big ones. They get caught for shoplifting, they get cited and released, and they say, hey, you got to appear at court in this day. And like I said before, those days haven't even happened for some people, and they're just like, well, I want to steal something else, let's go out and do it. So yes, they will go out and reoffend. It's a large percentage of people. I don't know the exact percentage of people that go and reoffend crimes, but there is a larger percentage. What is the most severe crime that people should commit and still get released for? And so we'll go over what these things are really quick. So a felony is something really bad. Like that's like the highest of the highest things that you can do bad. That's like murder and like that it's bad stuff. And then you have non-violent felonies, which could be things like money laundering. It could be a little bit more severe. Well, this is the craziest part to me. For whatever reason, hitting somebody with a skateboard. Going back to my previous example of the person who got released from jail, they beat somebody up with a skateboard, which is battery, and battery is sometimes considered a felony. But in this sense, they considered it a non-violent felony. So a non-violent felony could even be that they go and they beat somebody up and they're still able to be released. Because the zero bail policy states that anybody that has committed a misdemeanor or non-violent felony, they are eligible to be released without bail, which is exactly what that is. And then a non-violent felony, and then misdemeanors are normal misdemeanors and infractions. Infractions are like much they're very very similar to misdemeanors, but they're a little bit less severe than misdemeanors. But it's 55% of people say misdemeanors, 27% of people say infractions, and 16% say non-violent felonies. So if you round it out a little bit, that's about 85% of people think that anything over a misdemeanor, you should not be released from jail, at least without bail. And do you think this policy can benefit people in a good way? Yes. So I'm going to kind of contradict myself a little bit because I agree with the yeses here. The yeses are pretty much like, let's say this, for example, right? If somebody goes out and they commit a crime, let's say that they had to get food. They had to get food for their family because they were starving, and they went out and they stole food and they got to eat the food, but they got caught later. I believe in that instance that yes, maybe you should be released and cited and maybe have a court date later, because I mean it is hard to get some basic necessities in this day and age. So there's very specific situations that I believe yes, this can help people in a good way, but the negatives outweigh the positives in my opinion. But I still do agree with the yeses, and the no's obviously self-explanatory. No, it doesn't benefit people. You see the things that are going on. And what do you think this policy has an effect on your community? 22% of people say positive, and 40% say negative and neutral, or about 40% each. Positive, yeah, negative and neutral. So it's pretty even there. Not a lot of people said positive because of the effects that has happened. And, we have still 40% of people saying negative effect and still only 55% of people actually knowing what this policy is about in the first place. So, that's definitely something interesting that has happened. So yeah, I think that's all I really want to go over in this first episode of the podcast. I know I'll be having other guests on. I'm going to be having some sort of detective on. I'll have her official title at the beginning of next podcast video, and I'll hopefully have another adult on, and hopefully another kid. If not another kid, like a student like me, it'll just be another podcast. So we're gonna try to do 4 all together. But yeah, so it should be good. Until next time.